everyone. Welcome once again to the Odyssey of Truth. This is going to be the second full video we're doing in the new year, 2022. It's going to be number 6. And today we're going to record the matrix, getting out of, what is it, how do you notice it, and what you can do about it. Hey, Cambell, how's it going?
I'm good. How you doing, Lorenzo?
Good, good. It's bright and sunny here. You've got a beautiful background there. It seems very matrixy already.
Very matrixy. Yep. The matrix, right? Full of tricks.
So let's maybe start with, you have to know what you're getting out of to know that you got to get out of something. So maybe we'll talk about, your perspective and my perspective on what the matrix actually is. What would you say?
The matrix, essentially the matrix is a control system, really. That's the way I see it is. And I see it as like an overlay almost. You could talk computer talk, like a program that's been laid over the top of the original, if you want to put it that way. So obviously I look into history a lot. And we all know we had this civilization that sort of far outdid what we've done. And something's happened, right? That was clearly a positive for human civilization. And some, people, things, entities have come in and they've laid a program over the top and got us to believe it. And so that's why there's so much time put into education, into news, books, media, everything, right? Everything is a story to indoctrinate us. And that, to me, is the matrix. And literally, and that's really good, right? Because that means all you need to do to get out of it is just shift your perspective a bit. So I don't see it as, I don't think we're in a prison planet and we're all just stuck here and we're trying to escape or anything. I think it's all to do with consent. We have to consent and go, okay, I believe your version of the story. I'll believe that. And when we do that, we're in the matrix.
Yeah, I think the picture you have behind you is very telling in so many ways. We're not in a prison planet. I don't believe that either. But from what I feel, we are that prison planet, and so, if you start looking outside yourself to escape, that's the trap, right? Cambell and I touched base on that a bit with, freedom or facade about, what you're doing to become free and what the illusions are that persist even after you break a so-called one chain. If you have 12 others around your ankles and you break the one on your little toe, it's not really going to help you be free, although it might give you a bit of satisfaction for a day or three. And what a friend of mine mentioned about the matrix, which really stuck with me, is time. Matrix made of time. It's something else I want to discuss. It's because perhaps we can all get that feeling of when we're so-called on vacation, or when our weekends are here, or when we're not watching the clock, how our life feels very different as to when you're in a job and you're watching the clock, or you're looking at a calendar and you get that sinking feeling because Monday's coming, or your vacation's almost over, or your rent is due on a certain day, or you have, your car payment coming, or whatever. And they're all attached to, a calendar, a Gregorian calendar, which, as Cambell said, came at a certain time in a certain part of history, probably, and was overlaid on the more natural movements, let's say, of nature, as far as our time and our cycles went.
Yeah, you can just look at the months, right? The months, 13 times 28 is, I think it's actually is it 360 or 359, something like that. But basically, the year used to be 13 months of 28 days, and we have 13 moons every year. But now we have 12 months, and we still have 13 moons. So yeah, even just as an observer, right, who's it doesn't make sense. You can't make sense of the sky clock with their time period. And of course, we know 1,000 years it was taken or more. It's about 1,400, I think, and all these different things. But yeah, essentially, that's why there's massive clocks everywhere in all these towers, right? And not so long ago, there used to be bells chiming, at midday, and that, now you can have lunch. Now you need to go back to work. And that's what it is. Now, we know, like Lorenzo mentioned, you go on holidays and time is different. See, time is not a constant. That's the thing. Time can speed up and it can slow down, and we all know this. So they try and tell us that it's all these segments, right, that are all exactly the same duration. That's what they try and tell us time is. Clearly, it's not. You can tell, we know this, right? You go somewhere and you have to sit in a doctor's surgery full of, sick people, that's going to take a long time, right? But when, other times time just goes like that. So this is the thing. If we understand that everything's happening now and get out of that illusion and get the, the watch off the wrist, because again, essentially and you said, what did you say about we put ourselves in the jail or something like that? And I thought, we're the wardens. We're our own wardens, right? That they've given us a structure of a jail, and they've pretty much said, who wants to come in? Who wants everything's taken away? You can come in and you can be the warden for yourself. We're not going to pay anyone. So this is all choice to me. We do this to ourselves just because, people don't want to believe themselves. And again, it's the inside outside thing, right? Believe what's inside you, not what's outside you. What's outside you is an illusion. It's an opinion by another, human. Let's say human. It's not, it's not anything bigger than that. So focus on the creative spirit, I would say.
So even knowing that there's a way out, let's say, of the so-called matrix, a way of putting it, I would say is really important. If you think about all the coercion that goes on in this world, whether it's monetary coercion, tax coercion, violence, threat of, lack of salary or being taken away from, lack of travel or being allowed or not, as they say, licenses, etc., that are all being pushed in the so-called shenanigans of the day. If there was a reason for that not to exist, I'll use the double negative. In other words, if you could actually be pushed into a certain circumstance without your okay, then that is probably what would be going on as far as the rules and regulations go. But the fact that everything is suggested, pushed, and enforced through your own hands, there's threats of violence or threats of losing things or threats of lack of this, that, or the other thing. But the bottom line with all of it is, as Cambell mentioned as well, is that it's up to you, because the final arbiter of your actions is you. Right? And what you do or what you don't do, it's always up to you. And since we're talking about getting out of the matrix, I would think one of the first things to figure out is to be able to pick up your own responsibility for everything. And, I just don't mean your actions. I mean your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs, your imagination, your desires, your love, your lack therein of any of those, even your ideas of death and religion and destruction and historical perspective. In my opinion, all need to come into play. And I do mean come into place as you play with them to understand the full scope of the matrix, because you can't really get out of a cage unless you understand its workings, and then its intricate workings, and then its more intricate workings. And that is you need to understand the intricate workings of yourself. Again, this is all my opinion, because if you make the matrix, which I feel we do, and it's a permission in that you give yourself permission to be locked in here, of course, I also think that's true, then you have to figure out how to do the opposite, go the opposite way. And to do that, you really got to know yourself maybe more deeply than you ever have. And maybe for most of us more deeply than they ever wanted to.
Yeah. The way out is in. And this is what they don't want us to know. All the great teachers tell us this, right? The way out is in, right? That's all they've ever said. But of course, these, things in suits walking around. No, everything's 3D, everything's out there, money, you have to, it's all how you look and present yourself. And if you don't, then people won't like you. And these are all attachments. These are all strings that attach us to the matrix. And all we really need to do is cut them, but people don't, if you believe that that's reality, then you're not going to want to cut those strings, right? And we see this now with what's going on with jobs and how, a lot of people want or believe that things are going to, go back to normal, like the way they used to be. And that's because they don't want to cut the strings. They would rather live in imprisonment, right? A prison for their minds, than to take control of their lives. Because when you take control, you have to be responsible, and you have to be the kind of person that when the shit hits the fan, to put it that way, you have to be able to look in the mirror and go, well, that was my fault. Why did I cause that? What did I do? Point the finger back at you when everyone wants to run around and point the finger outside. Now, going back to that quote by Wayne Dyer, right? It's if you need to change other people to change your world, Well, good luck. Go and change 8 billion people's point of view. I mean, seriously, think about that. It's just a ridiculous concept. Can you change yourself? Sure. Yep. Can you change 8 billion other people? Not a hope in hell. So, I mean, this is all, we just need to think a bit more, extrapolate, right? Where are these thoughts and actions actually taking us? Because most of what we get fed kind of sounds all right and kind of makes sense on the surface. But when you start looking into it, it all falls apart. It's just, the paint of the room around us. So I think this matrix is easy to get out of once you hit a certain point, and once you identify that it is a matrix, then it's just up to you to to change what you're doing, change what you're focusing on, what you're putting your energy into, and that's how you get out, right? I mean, ultimately, just leave it behind, cut the strings, cut the apron strings.
But be ready, because there is a reason most people won't leave it. Even those that say, I've seen a lot of videos recently on being caught in the second matrix, because you exchange one matrix for another, in that if you decide that you're not going to work for the man, you're going to work for yourself, or you're not going to have this wife who's a shrew, or this husband that's a bastard, you're going to have another husband or another wife. Or Australia sucks because they have this regulation, so you're going to move to New Zealand, which has other regulations. Or you don't want to be in Canada, and so you move to the States, which has different regulations. So basically you're just shifting the wall in the scenery. But the real matrix, as I mentioned at the beginning, is you're making the matrix, you're generating the matrix, you are that matrix. And the reason I mention all of this, and it was brought to my attention, and I've had this experience for myself, is leaving one life and going to another is a death of sorts, right? Would have to be seen as such, right? You have to die of one life to live in another. And what most people maybe don't get, and except for some of the higher, we'll say, philosophers that Cambell had mentioned, or some of the active warriors that have lived through our historical times, is that leaving the matrix is a death, and it feels like such, right? Whether it's the death of a job, or the death of a relationship, or the death of who you think you are, the death of so many things, the death of a currency, the death of a way of creating. And that can be scary, especially if you haven't had the experience of living with death or experiencing death. And for that, I would say one of the other perspectives that's needed for getting out of the matrix is you need to be a hero, at least a hero to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, look at the heroes they put up for us, right? Gosh, they're either just imaginary, or they're the complete opposite to what they're telling us. Definitely be your own hero. That's how you rewrite the script, right? The matrix, if you want to call it that way. It's come back to this responsibility. Do heroes sit around and say, yes, sir, please, sir, 3 bags full, sir, where do I go, sir? Oh, it's lunchtime, I better go to lunch. No, they do their own thing. And it's not a jumping, like Lorenzo said, it's not jumping, clinging onto this part of the matrix, and it's like, oh, I hate the matrix, so I'm going to jump and cling on to this next bit. The cling on, the holding bits, is that's what gets everyone, is if you believe something is real, it's real. It's just that simple. So we need to decide. See, it's a shift in consciousness. If you try and build your future off the past, you're just rebuilding a different form of matrix, right? It's got to get to a point where you understand this is all, and this is easy, right? Bit of research, you can find out that everything is just a lie. Everything, who these people tell us they are, what they've done, what they stand for, that's all a lie. All history, all the stuff, all the propaganda, we know what's going on. So why believe it? Just go, oh, clearly it's all a lie. All right, I'm gonna build something better, and try building something better from not based on reality, not based on the past. It's like Lorenzo said, you don't, leave the matrix by quitting your job and then going and starting a business, which gives you all these obligations back to the matrix. It just ties you back in, because you're still in the money system, you're still in that, 60 hours a week work, whatever it is. But something different would be, well, let's get some land, let's go to co-op, let's raise food, let's do, or whatever, let's buy a boat and sail around the world, let's do, just whatever you feel like doing, and then trust, just trust that the matrix, the matrix, the universe has got your back. And once you hit that place, then the matrix is dead. And I guess that's a big thing, right? What do you trust in? Who's your God? The system? I mean, seriously, the system? Because to most people, the system is their God. It just is. I'll tell you they're a Christian or a, Hindu or whatever. But when it comes down to it, right, it says in all these books, you're created perfect. But then the man says, no, you're not. You need this thing in your arm. And all these so-called religious people go and get it. So that's proof positive that their God is the matrix. So get you God. That's a good way to get out of the matrix.
I mean, study yourself, understand yourself, figure out your own systems. I would say figure out how to be healthy. If you're looking for a way to start, I have found, I can say for myself, that the main majority of my energy and inspiration does not come from my head. That's been a habit of mine. And as I've meditated and looked back on my life, I can recall a time when I was younger, when I was a little boy, when my life did not come from my head, when it came from other parts of me. That's why I've been watching children recently. And I saw even a little boy yesterday, dancing around on a concrete thing around the plant. He was there for 10 minutes just dancing and laughing and singing and where his mother tried to move him and the little boy's going, no, 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 no. And I'm going, so what is he seeing? What is he? I mean, he's not seeing the same thing that the mother's seeing, where she's getting bored after 1 minute, picking her cell phone out of her pocket and looking at it and putting it back. The little boy is saying, who knows, right? He's dancing with energy. He could be dancing with the unknown. He could be dancing with mystery. I can recall that for myself when I was younger, so I'll only talk from that perspective. But if you remember what it was like when you were a little one, when you got to see life differently, when your imagination was working better, that could be a good starting point for understanding when you allowed the matrix to invade you as a control system. Again, as Cambell said, when you allowed that to come down on your head, quite literally, and decide for you what was right and what was wrong, instead of you deciding for yourself what was right and what was wrong. And, so maybe those are two good perspectives for getting out of the matrix, to recall when you were little and how your life was. And also, if you're not healthy in one way or 150 ways, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, if something's wrong, learn and see how to fix that. And from there, probably a million different other ways to move out of the matrix will come as you're making the effort to make your body, which is the vehicle we all travel through this world in anyways, maybe that's the best place to start for anybody. If they're not healthy, get healthy. And if you are healthy, get healthier.
Yeah, right. I mean, most of the word healthy is heal yourself, right? I mean, yeah, we're bombarded with so much crap that, we need to be able to think properly. And that's got a lot to do with what you're putting into your body. But I mean, it's interesting when you talked about the little boy, because I mean, that kind of proves, right, that we install the matrix. Well, people give it to us, right? And then once we accept it, then we've taken on the program. And so I mean, a good side point is, don't install the matrix on anyone, especially your children. And this, because we're just perpetuating. It's the weirdest thing, right? Humans aren't that clever sometimes. Right? We go through school, we do all this stuff, we get the job, and like, really, we got to work. And then, 20 years into it, we've got kids. We don't really like our jobs. It's hard, it's expensive, life's not that fun. And what do? We look at our kids and we say, we're going to make you do exactly the same as we did. But what the hell? I mean, if you want to get out of the matrix, that's probably a good point, right? You look at what went through, if you've got kids, and just how do you make their experience better? Because my opinion is, it's not through the schooling system. It's not through the education indoctrination system. It's just not. So if you're going to follow that path because it's easy and because everyone else is doing it, or because, oh my God, they might find me, then you're accepting the matrix. And this is what we do. Like the matrix, sure, we're given all these things and people are always yelling at us, this is the way things are, but ultimately we have to accept it, because we know there's people around who've never accepted it, right? They're the people that we call crazy. They just don't accept it. And so this is the biggest thing. And like we've been saying, this all comes back to you. If you want to change the world, as Michael Jackson said, you got to start with a man and or woman in the mirror. That's it. You're the only one. You are your biggest problem, but you're also your only solution.
So I could say, honestly, it's one of the things we're going to be sharing, on our website, newagora.ca. I'll leave a link below. Cambell's there. There's several other people that have joining our hub. And if I would say there's one commonality for all the good people that are coming to work with us, it's each one has a piece of the puzzle for, if you want to put it into action for yourself, for getting out of the matrix. There's counselors, there's coaches. I do coaching, I do love coaching. There's some that are doing health coaching. There's others that are doing relationship coaching. There's others that might be doing business coaching. Cambell and I, as we've shared in our Freedom Shift videos, have several ways you can work with us as far as currency and other ways to work your way, if not out of the matrix completely, at least get on that path for yourself and see where that can take you. Work with like-minded people that are maybe loving or more kind and caring and have your best interest at heart, aren't trying to be selfish. I would say that's another good indication of being with people that are working out of the matrix. Selfishness, holding, taking, fears, meanness of all kinds. To me, those are direct reflections of the matrix. Whereas setting you free, love, giving, caring, sharing, healing, health, also, as Cambell said, a good heart, good relationships, schooling of the real kind, meaning learning and understanding certain topics for yourself that you want to study, whatever that is for you, those could be seen as indications out of the matrix.
Yeah, education. I mean, information is always the first point for me. But really good point. I've lost it. Yeah, this is the thing. It's self-imposed, and we need to just empower ourselves. And it's the same thing. What we believe, we create. We are creators. So what do we want to create? And it goes back to, if we're creating from the past and from other people's opinions, we're just pushing this matrix thing forward. And I think it's all to do with trust. See, the thing they do is that they spend so much time and energy trying to convince you that there's nothing else, right? There's only the 3D world, and then you die and that's it. So all of science doesn't work because they're not allowed to talk about the ether. All right. Spirituality, religions don't work because they're not really allowed to talk about the ether and how we interact with it. And so this is the biggest thing. If you're going to believe that all you are is a physical being that is stuck here, controlled in a prison, then you are, and you're not getting out. So it's the biggest shift is to just it's the same thing. Just spend quiet time, and think about things. And with jobs, this is what I was going to say. If you're not happy in your job, I would say leave it, because I would say that happiness is much more important than, the balance in your bank. But most people, especially people that, have, good jobs, right? That people look up and go, oh, you've got a good job. Those people will not quit that job, sell their house, sell their stuff, get a job that they enjoy that pays less, where they'll have to maybe live in a smaller house and do these things. And they won't do that because they think that everyone will look at them and go, what a failure. Now that is 100% based on the matrix. That's a prison. That is a prison. If you're living your life based on what other people will think, you're done. And this is the biggest thing. That's how they keep us in the matrix, right? What will people say? Oh, you're going to be embarrassed. You're going to be shamed and rah, 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 rah. But look at the stories. So we can believe what they tell us, or we can go, oh, I wonder if anyone's actually left the matrix. Let's go and have a look. And you'll find thousands of people who have done it and are happy as. And they get to a point where they're just laughing at people who are still in their jobs. So, whose life are you living, and who are you living it for? Are you living it for everyone else out there, and you're living your life just to avoid being pointed at and laughed and people calling you weird? Or are you living your life for an experience, to be happy, to be who you are? Because in the end, if we don't learn, we just come back and do it again. So my advice is get it done this time.
If you're lucky, you get to come back and do it.
If you're lucky,
who knows?
You may come back as a rat and have to go through 15 lifetimes. Who knows?
And perhaps, it's a good first point Cambell mentioned, think about your life, consider it, go through all the options in your head and all of the things that you've done and haven't done. And then maybe after that, put the thinking down and take a long walk. You know, I take long
Yeah.
walks every day. Go out for 3 or 4 or 5, walk until your head stops, exercise until your head stops. Do whatever it does. Maybe it's gardening, maybe it's painting, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's singing, you know, whatever it is for you. But, you know, gazing at the clouds, you know, watch again, children, but go out for that walk and take a pad and paper with you perhaps and see what your inspiration tells you. See what comes that's not from your head. You know, there's a reason schooling puts you in your head and makes you think. There's a reason everything from cell phones to TV are there to put you into your head, because perhaps the matrix or whoever's set up this matrix is afraid of you getting out of your mind, literally being out of that part of yourself that they can control by putting ideas there and getting into your heart or into your body, into your soul, into your nether regions, whatever, into any about of the supposed 8 other systems of energy that I've heard humans can access. That's not about thinking. Believe it or not, there are ways to be alive without thinking. There are bits of information and there are inspirations and there are modes of creative action that come without thoughts as well. And if you don't know how to do that, that's fine. But, you know, a good first step is to take stock, see where you are, see what you'd like to leave behind, see how you'd like to get better, see how you'd like to do less or more of certain things. And the next step, because you're a being that was born with everything you need, as Cambell said at the beginning of this, because you are born with all of the skills and potential, a piece of God, as they say. You know, everyone, you know, all the religions say that too. You're born of God, child of God. So you would have all the potential. You just have to access it. So don't be sad if you're stuck. Don't be mad. Figure it out and let the next bits of inspiration come your way, because in my opinion, they do. If you intend to act your way out, you will get direction of one kind or another.
I agree. And we say, oh my God, that person's out of their mind. What does that mean? They're not acting like everyone else. How dare they not be a robot? They must be out of their mind. What is that? They're thinking. Oh my God, for themselves, but original thought. And when you mentioned, you know, when you ask questions, yeah, don't expect the answer to come. You know, God's not on call, or the ether for waiting for you. Oh my God, they're going to call and ask a question. Oh, I'm going to be here. Ask the question and then forget about it. And go for a walk, go do whatever. And that answer will just suddenly go bing and jump into your head. You know, if you're trying to force answers, you're going to end up giving yourself a wrong answer. You're going to be searching. Oh, is that it? Oh, I think, oh, was that? Just forget about it. Trust. And when the message comes, you'll know. That's why it's called a message. You'll know, right? Otherwise, it's not a message. So that's a big thing. Is, you know, we people try and control the matrix, I guess, is what's going on, right? With all this mental stuff, oh, I'm going to control, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, where the real way, you know, that just holds you in the matrix. To let go and to go inside and just let go and go, well, it just is, whatever, this is all just people's opinions, I can do what I want. You know, that's leaving the matrix. And I guess that's another big thing, right? This success. You know, he's successful. Look at all the money he's got. Look at, you know, whatever. Look at the health, and there's all these things that are put up for success. And we have all these people, look, worship this person. But you never see the mum with 6 kids who's you know, working all day to raise an amazing family. They're not put up as a success, are they? People who go out and you know, help people selflessly, who, you know, do all these things that actually mean something and will change the future. No, when they're not successful, the only success we're given is 3-dimensional, outside of you matrix success. And that's pretty much all. Just get more than other people and then you'll be the winner, right? But, you know, the one who dies with the most at the end does not win the game, I can tell you right now.
Yeah, trust in your heart, trust in your intuition, trust in your feelings, see where it's going to take you. You know, we have so much information on what we've shared just in our website in 10, 12 years. And that's just one bit of, you know, information in the billions of bits of information that are out there, and the potential ideas and ideals and ways that you can move. You know, Howdy McCloskey, somebody that Cambell's talked with many times. I've listened to a few of his videos, some great stuff about getting out of the cage, the allegory. He's got some interesting ideas for that as well. Not to mention there's dozens of others. We've talked about a few of them here already. Chiron Last, his channel, well worth watching. There's so many really out there that give you the hints of what it is that's potential for you to do what you need to do for yourself or not. And all you really need to do, in my opinion, is decide to change, decide to leave, and the rest will come your way in one step or many.
And just, no one has your answers, so everyone's way of getting free is going to be slightly different, because we all have slightly different, belief systems and everything. So, understand that it is a personal journey. And I would say a good, maybe exercise to do is, if you have children, or even if you don't, but definitely if you've got children, like, think of how would you, explain yourself to them, like what you do and why you're doing it and why you believe that's a good thing to do. Because you can imagine if you sit down with a child, and of course, if you don't have children, just imagine talking to a child. Imagine sitting down and they're like, oh, are you successful? Yeah, I'm successful because I've got lots of numbers in this institution called a bank. The child will just look at you like, what? Oh yeah, and I've also got 13 cars and 2 big houses. And they'd be like, okay.
Okay.
Now, if you sit down to and but imagine the conversation being, well, I go out and I try and help people. If I see people that are feeling bad, I talk to them. I smile to people. Even if you smile at someone, it makes them feel better. I do. The child's going to be like, oh, we know this, right? They're going to understand that as success, because that's what success is. It's not 3D. Success is, see, we're all part of this world. And if you just make yourself better, or believe you're just making yourself better, then what happens? If you're getting more, you kind of try to make yourself higher in a world that's worse. We're all in this world, and we've got to understand that it's got to be good for everyone. Once everyone's happy, then, and this is what I don't understand, but people just need to let go. And if we all just work together, then we don't have taxes. We don't have people telling us what to do. We have this life that we can just live. And I think maybe it's such a sort of different way to look at life, that people are scared. And of course, they love fear, right? If you do the wrong thing in the Matrix, oh, we're going to lock you up, or we're going to fine you, or we're going to ostracize you. But it's all fear. It's just false evidence appearing real. Just just let it go. Just believing it yourself. I'm starting to repeat myself, so I'll be quiet.
And also, maybe a good exercise, something that just came to me while we've been chatting. Imagine what you would do next, or what you would have to do next, if you woke up one day and there was no internet, there was no cell phone coverage, the banks were all closed, there was no jobs. So you woke up one morning, you're sitting in your home or your house or your cottage or your yurt or the field or wherever it is that you're living right now. And imagine, I used to do that as a little boy. I used to say, well, I wonder what would happen if everything was gone. I used to love those movies, the end of time movies, where everything was closed and shut down, and there was no nothing, and maybe there was, the population was less or whatever. I mean, who cares? Lots of people, little people. It's not the point. Point in this exercise is maybe to imagine, if all of those things that you take for granted were gone, what would you do next? What could you do next? What couldn't you do next? And this could all be in relation to, you have already chosen you would like to get out of the matrix. So imagine life without the matrix and see what you are possible of, what you're capable of. Maybe if you don't know, that could be your next exercise. Take that pad and paper, go, well, maybe I need to exercise more. Maybe I need to learn how to grow some vegetables. Maybe I need to learn how to, walk more than 5 minutes without huffing and puffing and sitting down and resting, because maybe one day I'll have to run for a little while. And the such, I've done all that. I mean, they're interesting for that. It gets your imagination rolling, for one, and two, it really can give you the ability to take stock of your life and what, again, you may need or may not need in relation to what you would like to do if and when the matrix is gone for you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really looking at life without the construct, right? Without the, all this stuff that we believe. And that, what would you do, right? What would you do with your time? How would you give value? Because that also, so we all have innate, abilities and skills and passions, and the matrix stops us going there and using those. So, if you imagine a world without everything, and what you would do, then that's probably going to be a lot more aligned with who you are and what your natural skills are. So that's probably a good exercise too if you're a little lost. But definitely just, no one, and it's society, right? But they don't want us to have time to sit down and relax. And when you do, it's like, oh God, turn on the TV or else you might start thinking for yourself. So this is the first thing, just take quiet time, whatever it is, walking, meditating, gardening, write your ideas down, maybe start writing down, where you want to be, what is your ideal life and why. And another just, little tip is when you ask questions, ask it 7 times and answer it 7 times, because you'll find that the first answers that's pretty much the matrix, right? Responding, that's just your, just throwing stuff up. But if you ask the question, you'll get like an answer. Then you ask why about that answer and get another, and keep doing that. Then you'll actually get to something that makes sense. And so I'd say try and go 7 levels deep on each question. But this is all about, leaving the matrix is really, we can look at it 2 ways, right? We can look at it as leaving the matrix or as finding you. Right? And maybe it's better to look at it as finding you, because when we're leaving something, we're still focused on it. There's a quote from R. Buckminster Fuller, which basically says, when you want to build something new, you don't focus on destroying the old, you just go forward and build the new. But so many people want to focus on you've got to destroy the old, you've got to destroy that. That's putting your focus straight back where you don't want to be. So creating what you don't want.
Good point. Good point. Build yourself the way you would like to. Let the matrix disappear on its own. You don't got to take it down, because let's just say maybe you're only responsible for the bit that you've made in the matrix. Not all the other bits, as Cambell said, not the 7 billion other little bits of the matrix, or the politicians, or the rules, or the laws, or the mandates, or the monetary system, or 911, or 723, or Y2, all those things that people seem to like to fight. When all you really got to do is sit down, take yourself away, take out the bit that you've made, your little plug, shall we say, by making yourself new. You unplug yourself by plugging yourself into the all of everything, for lack of a better way to put it. And from there, it's really up to you. Again, I'm being a bit vague in all of this, because I can't tell you what to do. Cambell can't tell you what to do. No one should be able to tell you what to do. Everybody's unique. Everyone has their own life. Everyone's got to figure it out for themselves. Maybe that's the biggest fear that comes up with most people is, no one's going to tell me what to do tomorrow. Yeah. No one's going to tell me what to do today. No one's going to tell me what to do at 9:36 tonight when I turn my TV off and all these rules and regulations are gone. What am I going to do next? Well, figuring out how to figure out what you're going to do next is another great exercise.
Yeah, and it's interesting that some of the people who put them out, males, the big tough males. Oh, I'm such a tough male. Oh, man, these guys most of them are such systemites. They are their job. They are their, I'm a mechanic, I'm a truck. Well, can't say truck driver, not at this point, but they become these facades, and they're trying to tell you they're these big, powerful people. But you walk up to these people and go, oh, you should just quit your job, mate. What a waste of time. Don't you want to live your life? These people will lose it, because they just put all their energy into becoming successful in the system. So I think another big thing is to just look at people who you're listening to. Really, like who are they? All these politicians, right? They come out there and they're going to tell you how to live your life and what rules you need. Why don't you look into these politicians and see how they live their lives? Who are they? What's their moral base? How ethical are they? How do they act? How do they treat people? And when you find that out, ask yourself again, do I want to believe anything this person says or take on anything? Because all these mouthpieces, all of them, they're there for a reason. And you look into them and they're all gaslighters. They are running around doing everything that they're telling you not to do. It's so recognize that. Who are you going to listen to? Do you want to be in the smart crew and listen to smart people and go forward? Or do you want to surround yourself with turkeys who are full of opinion and they're like, look, I'm right because that guy over there agrees with me. So no. Who do you want to follow, right?
Live on a turkey farm or be free, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, Campbell, I think I've run out of things to share personally. It
Hmm.
seems to me we've shared at least 10, 12 great ideas. I mean, maybe it's a bit of a shorter one, which I thought this would be a longer one, but it's amazing.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But it's amazing. I think the real answers are very
Maybe it's
short.
easy to be made to believe. Oh, sorry, I'll
The
shut
real
up.
answers are short, right?
You go
They're
again.
not complicated. They're usually not full of a lot of words. Find yourself. Don't be afraid to die. See what
Hmm.
your imagination is telling you. Make your own way. Don't listen to anyone when you are feeling that you have a better idea for yourself and your life. Very simple ways to say these things, very
Yeah.
complicated to do. It's the actions that are harder than the words Campbell and I are sharing. And maybe that's why this could be a shorter video. It's more like, what did Campbell, the guy who wrote the Warrior of a Thousand Faces? I forget, Joseph Campbell. He said he likes stories that don't have an ending. This is how he put it. He likes stories that take you to a precipice and then push you off, right? And there you go. I mean, and maybe that's what getting out of the matrix is like, why we can't really talk about what's after, because bring yourself to that precipice, whatever that is for you in your old life, wherever you're comfortable, and then jump.
Yep.
Everyone's going to die anyways. So, got nothing to lose.
With yeah. Yeah, indeed. And just to reiterate, truth is always simple. If someone's trying to bamboozle you with words and figures and all this, and I mean, just look at contracts, right? No one reads the fine print, and there's a reason, because that's not truth. We know it's not. So if you can't understand a concept, it's not your truth. So don't listen to people who are trying to indoctrinate you and go, but it is the truth, and blah, blah, blah. Just read these 15 books and watch those 7, seminars. No. If someone can't explain to you, this is the truth, and you go, okay, then it's not. So I would say definitely, keep that in mind, because the matrix is all about, confusing you and giving you way too much information so you can't understand it. So that's a big, it's a big tell sign, right?
Big
It's
tells.
not easy. Get rid of it.
I would say there's only one non-negotiable contract we all sign when we come here, and that's with death. After that, there you go. And if you notice that, and you notice you won't be here forever, it's inspiring me to get off my ass and do more. So, we all have that date. We all have that date with destiny. Once you're born, you start dying. Once you're here, you realize you won't be forever. So what are you waiting for if you're not? I would say now's the time. Love is the answer. Freedom is a good way to look at it, things. And, why not enjoy your life and see where it takes you? Don't be afraid.
And remember, it's all your fault.
It's all your fault.
All the good stuff as well. It's all your fault. But seriously, people don't like that. But when you get into that and you understand it, much better way to live, right? Because when you have problems, you can't sit down and cry, because someone comes up and goes, what's the matter? What are you going to do? Look up and go, it's all my fault. And they're like, well, you should be probably doing something. Yeah, it really is. We're creators. That's what we are, creators means. Means everything we create is our fault, right? Good or bad. So if you're getting more bad, just create something different.
You're right. I would agree 100%. It's all your fault. I've been fighting things for years. And even recently when I decided, hey, all these bad things have been my fault, and the good things start coming afterwards. So take full responsibility.
Yeah, it's amazing how that one thing,
like immediately,
yeah, it can change so much, can't it?
Even if people
really
are breaking appointments with you, it's your fault. If people are lying to you, it's your fault. See how that's true, not how it's not true, right? If people are always treating you bad, how is that your fault? You might not be doing the actions, but maybe you're hanging out in the wrong clubs. Maybe you're hanging out with the wrong people. Maybe you're making appointments with the wrong kind of people. I had to see that. People kept breaking appointments with me for years ago. And I'm going, it's their fault. Oh my goodness, irresponsible. Why aren't they people or men, women of their word? Blah, blah, blah. Then eventually I said, wait a minute, maybe I'm making appointments with the wrong people. Maybe the world is telling me, don't make appointments with this kind of person, that kind of person, this kind of business. And then I stopped, and then suddenly it stopped. So them breaking their word to me was my fault. Right. So by seeing how it was my responsibility or my fault, it changed. It goes back to, again, what Cambell said, you can't change 7 billion people, but you can change yourself. And if you don't like something in your life, immediately, if your finger goes out pointing, put it up your nose. It's probably safer there. Or put it in your ear, put it up your butt, whatever, put it somewhere, but don't point it at somewhere else. Figure out how you're dirty in how you're not being happy. That's what I mean by dirty in your own life, so that you can clean whatever it is you need to clean about your perspective and then go on towards something better, which is another way of saying getting out of the matrix.
Indeed. Well said. So there you go, guys. I hope you got some pointers from that. Please leave us a like, subscribe, share this around. And of course, you'll find links below. As Lorenzo mentioned, I'm now up on the new Now website. We'll leave all the links for that. Go check it out, share it around. And of course, all my stuff's up there. So worth going and joining, and Lorenzo stuff, you know, just in case we disappear from YouTube one day, because that still could happen. So, and also the email list, you'll find a link below. You know, keep in contact with us just in case anything happens. But also, we'll be sending you, you know, updates and you know, the new videos and points of view. So, yeah, get involved. All the links are below.
Yeah, check it out. There's me, there's Cambell, many more coming, several others already there. We hope to see you soon. I love you all very much. Thank you for listening and joining us here today. And I'll get this up and live as soon as I can as well. Cheers for now.
Yep, and jump out of that matrix.